Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for my rational perspective on Porto 0, Chelsea 2. Probably the perfect result. I think if I would have sat down before the game and said what's the best scoreline I could have hoped for, it would have been a 2-0 win for Chelsea. 2 away goals, a clean sheet, away from home. You know, obviously it's the same stadium for 2 legs. Very weird this season in the Champions League, but I think that was the key thing coming off of Saturday's game. It wasn't a great performance, but it was those finer details in the Champions League. And in the Champions League, and I also just think for the rest of this season, you know, it's not really for me that much about expansive football. You know, Chelsea just really need to get results till May for me, and to expect that brilliant football, as I've demonstrated on the channel before and as I've given you my thoughts on. I think there are certain elements to tonight's game that can't really be fixed, I think, till the summer. But I think that for Chelsea, once again, to be so clinical, when really we don't have that guaranteed goal scorer. This team does lack a natural finisher for me, but the finishes tonight from both Mason Mount and Ben Chilwell were perfect. They really were. And Chelsea once again got those fine details, those fine margins in the Champions League, spot on in both boxes, and that's what got us a brilliant win. It sets us up so well for that second leg, where I think Tuchel will try and do what he did against Atletico Madrid. I think it will allow Chelsea to play on the counter. I'll get to that because I think until N'Golo Kante came on, we had a really problem trying to play on the counter. I think that's why our attacking and I think our ability to transition was so poor tonight. I'll get into that. Let's have a look at the starting lineup. I think the biggest call that Tuchel had to make tonight was between Thiago Silva and Christensen, you know, or just a back three in general. After conceding 5 goals, would Thiago Silva start this game? He didn't. He really went Tuchel with his tried and tested back three, the one he's used the most so far as Chelsea's head coach. Dave, Christensen and Rudiger. And I can understand that. I said that in my preview yesterday. The reason I said Thiago Silva was just in a passing sense of, you know, if Chelsea had to break down at Porto tonight, it wasn't really that type of game. I think we still missed passing from deep. I think passing from deep tonight was horrendous. I think generally Chelsea's passing was quite horrendous tonight, but defensively he got it spot on. Reece James at right wing back was immaculate. Ben Chilwell, the 2 wing backs for me were so key to Chelsea's defensive organisation and setup. You know, Porto trying to go out wide. I think the aggression and the focus in Ben Chilwell and Reece James' game tonight, physicality as well, they just got absolutely everything spot on and one-on-one. And also, of course, Ben Chilwell's ability in attack really helped Chelsea in the latter stages of the game. Georgie Kova, I think I'll get into them because I think it's sort of once again hit and miss. I think there are things I can praise about their game offensively, but it's also that case I think where Chelsea can be pressed quite easily in that area, and that was a cause for concern and I think limited our ability in attack. Chilwell, as I've already mentioned, and in that front three, Mount, Kai and Werner. Kai's done quite well as his false 9. He didn't really tonight. He didn't really get into the game at all, and I think there were several reasons for that. You know, Chelsea, I think in this formation, without N'Golo Kante to transition when the game played out in a different manner to the way we expected it to. I think I personally expected it to go in a direction that the first leg against Atletico went, where Porto try and sit a little bit deeper without 2 of their best players, 2 of their best goal scorers, sit deep, and Chelsea have to try and break them down with a lot of possession. That wasn't the way it worked out. Whether it was because of a hangover against West Brom or just them pressing up the pitch a lot more, Chelsea struggled to string passes together and struggled to get out of their half. And I just felt that with Timo Werner, Kai Havertz and Mason Mount, you saw a great ability in that front three to be really devastating on transition. But unfortunately, we were never able to get into those positions. I think what you saw against Atletico, we saw what we missed with N'Golo Kante tonight for a majority of the game. I think Kante, his ability to intercept is so key for starting transition opportunities for Chelsea in attack. And I think the inability of just not having Kante on the pitch to break up Porto attacks and then spring on the attack. I think we saw that with Kante in the brief spell. We had a few moments like that where Kante was able to get the ball intercept and drive forward with it. And that opened more opportunities in the final 10 minutes for Chelsea to score. And hopefully we'll have that next week, because I do think the way this game has gone is going to allow Tuchel to do that a lot more next week. But obviously, I think we were a bit lucky, to be honest, because we played so poorly in that first 30 minutes. You know, Porto had a few chances, nothing clear cut. You know, Mendy, I thought, was brilliant tonight. When asked to step up, he did, clearing that corner very smartly. It was one of those dangerous moments, but he was alert to it, alert to a header as well, I think from Pepe from a corner before the first goal. The first goal comes from Chelsea's best moment of play in the first half when we were able to string a few passes together. You're actually finally thinking, okay, we've got some form of possession. We've been able to press up the pitch finally in this game. And Jorginho, who I felt there was a few times throughout the game actually where he could have been a lot better in possession, finds the pass to Mason Mount. But Mason Mount makes this goal all for himself. The turn, I mean, I feel sorry for the defender. You know, these people have families, man. It was devastating. And Mason Mount with a wonderful finish as well. I saw a stat that not only was this Mason Mount's first goal in the Champions League for Chelsea, he now has more goals in his first 2 seasons as a Chelsea player, 16 over Frank Lampard, who had 15. Incredible status personally for him, and he is Chelsea's player of the season. Just give him the award tomorrow. I think it's a bit of a waste of time voting on it because we know it's going to be Mason Mount. He has been exemplary all season, and what Tuchel has done is implementing him further up the pitch. What we saw at times last season when he was further up the pitch in, say, this 3-back system was that ability to press, obviously that ability to be that connector player from, say, deeper in midfield and also to the attacking players alongside him, but just his finishing quality as well. That turn was just sumptuous, it really was, and the finish was good too. And it sets Chelsea up, and once again Mason Mount in a big moment for Chelsea steps up. He is levels above, I think, everyone else for consistency in this squad. He is the one player I trust week in, week out to perform not only at a good standard, a great standard for Chelsea, and it's just wonderful to see Mason, a smile on his face. It was another great moment for him and what has been a really good season for Mason Mount. Mason Mount just wonderful once again. But Chelsea really didn't get going again. You know, you maybe felt that would open up the game a bit more for Chelsea in the second half. Maybe we'd be able to play on the break a little bit more. There were brief moments, but unfortunately it never really materialised for Chelsea until that final 10 minutes when maybe there were tired legs. We brought on some fresh legs of our own to help. N'Golo Kante, Olivier Giroud, Christian Pulisic coming on as well. I don't think no subs helped because I was actually crying out for Olivier to come on the pitch because I felt that without Kante, without the ability to play intricate football, without the ability to press up the pitch, you know, Chelsea's passing was just horrendous. It felt like for long periods of that second half, we were just literally hoofing the ball out of our own half to no one. You know, it wasn't even going to Olivier Giroud once he got on the pitch. I think our passing was actually 95% horrendous tonight. I think it really was. I don't think it was that good. I think it was so much down to that defensive unit and organisation, and I think that both Ben Chilwell and Reece James deserve so much credit tonight. I think both of them were exemplary. The English trio, as I've already said, you know, I think those three were the best performers of Chelsea, but I also thought there were some key blocks in there from Christensen, Dave and Rudiger. Just key moments for Chelsea that they needed to be aware of, and they were absolutely spot on tonight, and it helped Chelsea get that clean sheet once again. And I think the way those three defenders are just, those three centre-backs have worked together, you know, you just trust them pretty consistently to start and perform well for Chelsea. You know, that three did not start on Saturday against West Brom, so I think, you know, you quite clearly see that, of course, we know the class of Thiago Silva, but that is the best back three currently for Chelsea. Dave, Christensen and Rudiger, and you have so much trust in that back three week in, week out now for Chelsea. And I think likely next week that'll be the back three I expect, unless any of them get injured. And also against Man City, I'd probably trust that back three as well. But I also felt just the wide play as well, you know, Porto trying to hit us out wide, and I felt the aggression and focus in Ben Chilwell and Reece James' game defensively. I mean, they are our best two defensive fullbacks or best two defensive wing backs, and it showed tonight. It really did, you know, other than, say, Marcus Alonso there. I think Ben Chilwell has been on such a good run of form, he really has. And we get to that goal, and actually that pattern, that mistake that I think Ben Chilwell capitalised on, that had happened a few times, that switch of play. Ben had nearly got there, really pressing up as the left wing back, and finally he got there. I mean, the finish itself was wonderful. The coolness in Ben Chilwell there, almost like a striker. I mean, the coolness you probably would want from some of our strikers this season in front of goal, taking it around a keeper. I have to say, I did get visions of Fernando Torres rounding Victor Valdez at the Nou Camp in 2012. £50 million has just been repaid. Very fitting for Ben Chilwell. Ben has been in a really good run of form. He has. You know, you think about the Sheffield United game, I think he's reasserted himself so well to Chelsea. I think with that run where he wasn't really in the team, I think it's quite clear now, once again, he should be first choice. I just think both sides of the game, he's better than Marcus Alonso, in my opinion, and I think that's going to be the way it is. Acceleration-wise, offensively, he was so focused tonight, and I think Tuchel would be so impressed with that performance. Likewise, Reece James. And yeah, that's the way the game finished, man. I don't think there were any other key moments. There was a few scares. I think the penalty shout for Dave pushing Marega, I think it was. It was a scary moment. I did feel it was a bit like that moment in the game against Atletico, where Dave pulled a player back. I mean, we shouldn't really be conceding that opportunity from a throw-in, which was a bit concerning. I mean, it didn't go to VAR. Luckily, Chelsea got away with it. 2-0, it sets up the second leg so well. The players who were on yellows, which I think were Kovacic, Havertz and Ziyech, I think those are the 3 players on a yellow who, if they got a yellow, would have been suspended for next week. Not suspended now, so they're free for that game. We pretty much have a full squad. We move on now to Crystal Palace, which is a massive game for Chelsea. They simply have to win. And it'll be interesting to see, for me personally, what Tuchel does in terms of rotation, because of course it's a very quick turnaround. It's so intense these upcoming weeks for Chelsea, and Tuchel has to get that rotation absolutely spot on, which he has a majority of the time as Chelsea's head coach. We had that freakish result on Saturday, but Palace is a massive game in the race for top 4. Porto second leg next week. Interested to see how Tuchel approaches that game, and of course then after that it's Man City. So it's back to back to back to back. It's the end of the season. It's so intense, but Chelsea, is it too quick to say 1 foot in the semi-final? But it puts Chelsea in a wonderful position. It really does, mentally, psychologically, but also just in terms of the score itself. 2 away goals, perfect result, not the perfect performance, but who cares about that at this time of the season? Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonofChelsea, and I'll see you again.